Dear friends, Namaskar. Today we are going to discuss about the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus in dogs and cats. In our previous class, we have well discussed about the pathophysiology and etiology of diabetes mellitus. Now we will discuss diagnosis of diabetes mellitus in dogs and cats. As you people are aware that the diagnosis of any disease in veterinary practice is mostly rely on the clinical examination, and clinical examination is the most important part for diagnosis of any disease in dogs and cats, or you can say veterinary practice. Afterward, you can switch over to the laboratory diagnostic tools for confirmation of your diagnosis. So first we will discuss the classical clinical signs. You have to ask about the history, or what are the clinical signs, or what are the observation of owners. In that one you will find polydipsia, polyuria, polyphagia and weight loss. These are the four most important classical clinical sign of diabetes mellitus. अगर ऐसा history है, then you can go for other clinical signs like sudden blindness or occurrence of sudden blindness in the animal, or development of cataract or formation of cataract in animal is or dogs. It is giving a very good clue for presence of diabetes mellitus, or you can say suspicion of diabetes mellitus. अगर आपके पास कोई डॉग सिर्फ और सिर्फ कैटरैक्ट के लिए भी आया है तो आपको उसको एक बार डायबिटीज़ के साइड में सोचना आवश्यक है. इसी तरह से द क्लिनिकल पैटर्न विच इज called as plantigrade posture in cats. As you are knowing, the cats are walking on toe, but when they are walking on hog, this type of posture is called as plantigrade posture, and this is typical indicator of diabetic neuropathy in cats. So this development of cataract in dog or plantigrade posture or stance in cats, if you are finding, you should suspect about the diabetes mellitus. Next to that, you can go for other clinical complications of diabetes mellitus. As you people are well aware that if animal is diabetic, at that time the immunity of that animal is markedly reduced, and this decreased resistance to bacteria and fungal infection leads to concurrent infections like cystitis, prostatitis, bronchopneumonia and dermatitis. These are the clinical complication of diabetes mellitus, and if you are finding these clinical complication along with hyperglycemia, or you can say polyuria, polyphagia, then you should suspect about the diabetes mellitus. If you are having a radiographic tool, at that time you can find emphysematous cystitis. This is the typical presentation of this diabetes mellitus. Although it is rare in diabetes, but if you are finding emphysematous cystitis, it's indicative of diabetes mellitus, because if glucose is coming into the urine because of glycosuria, at that time glucose fermenting bacteria like Proteus, Aerobacter aerogens and E. coli ferment glucose and produce gas. So because of production of gas, you will find presence of gas in the wall of the urinary bladder. You can also find this gallbladder emphysema. Wall of the gallbladder is also emphysematous. It is indicative of diabetes mellitus in dogs. So if you are finding emphysematous cystitis, gallbladder wall emphysema, this can give you clue for suspicion of diabetes mellitus. And the very important clinical examination, you will find, if you will palpate the abdomen, you will find hepatomegaly or enlargement of the liver. You people are well aware that what are the possible reasons for this hepatomegaly. We have discussed in detail how this hepatic lipidosis takes place due to diabetes mellitus, and that will be responsible for hepatomegaly. Now coming to the laboratory estimations. In this one, you people are well aware that portable blood glucose monitoring system or devices are available in the market which can be used for instant uh, estimation of blood glucose level. At the same time, you should also go for estimation or detection of glycosuria using a reagent strip test, or normal glucose level in fasting glucose, you can say, in dogs is 53 to 117 milligram per dl in dog. In cats, normal level is 57 to 131 milligram per dl, and you can also establish ketonuria if animal is suffering from diabetic ketoacidosis. Now, the very important part is the persistent fasting hyperglycemia and glycosuria. Why I am saying this persistent fasting hyperglycemia and glycosuria? It is very important. At the time of diagnosis, most of the vets are overlooking these two tests. They are only going for the estimation of blood glucose, but they are not bothering about the यूरिन स्टेटस ऑफ द ग्लूकोज. लेकिन दोनों को ही एक साथ डिटेक्ट करना बहुत ही आवश्यक है अगर आप डायबिटीज मेलिटस को कंफर्म करना चाहते हैं. तो ऐसा इसलिए है बिकॉज यू पीपल आर नोइंग दैट देयर आर सो मेनी रीजन्स और सो मेनी कंडीशंस वेयर you can find elevated level of blood glucose, but you will not find glycosuria. As we have already discussed, in Cushing syndrome you will find hyperglycemia, but there will be no glycosuria in that situation. In that condition you will also find polydipsia polyuria syndrome, but वहाँ पे पॉलीयूरिया पॉलीडिप्सिया का जो रीजन हमने बताया था दैट इज़ डिफरेंट. वहाँ पे कॉर्टिसोल एडीएच की जगह पे बाइंड करता है और एडीएच को फंक्शन नहीं करने देता है. तो ऑस्मोलारिटी के चलते कशिंग सिंड्रोम में पॉलीयूरिया पॉलीडिप्सिया नहीं होता है, लेकिन डायबिटीज मेलिटस में ऑस्मोटिक डायरेसिस होता है बिकॉज ऑफ द प्रेजेंस ऑफ ग्लूकोज इन द यूरिन. सो अगर आपको कंफर्म करना है कि डायबिटीज मेलिटस है तो ब्लड ग्लूकोज के साथ साथ यूरिन ग्लूकोज स्टेटस भी डिटेक्ट करना और एस्टिमेट करना अति आवश्यक है. इसी तरह से इफ़ यू आर ओनली गोइंग फॉर द estimation of glucose, presence of glucose in the urine, that will also not be much supportive or much confirmative for the presence of diabetes mellitus, क्योंकि there are so many clinical condition like which can induce glycosuria but there will be no hyperglycemia. As you people are aware that hyperglycemia, or you can say glycosuria without hyperglycemia can occur because of primary renal glycosuria or other renal tubular disorders. If there is damage to the renal tubules or any primary renal problem is there, at that time you will find glycosuria but you will not find hyperglycemia. So ग्लूकोज लेवल इन ब्लड, साथ ही साथ आपको यूरिन में प्रेजेंस ऑफ ग्लूकोज, दोनों एक साथ डिटेक्ट करके ही आपको डायबिटीज मेलिटस का कंफर्मेशन हो पाता है. तो कभी भी एक दूसरे को ओवरलुक ना करें. जब भी आपको डायग्नोस करना हो दोनों को एक साथ टेस्ट कराएं और तब आपको कंफर्मेटरी डायग्नोसिस हो पाएगा. नेक्स्ट, द प्रॉब्लम विद दिस स्ट्रेस इंड्यूस्ड हाइपरग्लाइसीमिया. as we have already discussed in our previous classes that cats are very sensitive to stress, and the cortisol level instantly or an epinephrine level elevated instantly in if cat is very excited, hyperactive or aggressive. In this situation you will find, because of elevation in the cortisol or epinephrine level, you can find an elevated blood glucose level, and it can be even more than 300 milligram per dl, and the duration for which it can persist, that can be up to 24 hours. So what could be the other tools or diagnostic marker which can be used for diagnosis or differentiating this. One of them is the serum fructosamine. This serum fructosamine is nothing just but the glycated protein, and it is used to monitor the control of glycemia in diabetes patient or diabetic patients. It is just an irreversible, non-enzymatic, insulin independent binding of glucose to the serum protein, and this is the responsible for formation of fructosamine. And this fructosamine is a marker of average blood glucose during the circulating lifespan of the protein, and it varies from 1 to 3 weeks. यानी कि जितना उसका लाइफ स्पैन होगा दैट विल डिपेंड अपॉन द टाइप ऑफ प्रोटीन, उतना ड्यूरेशन का ग्लूकोज स्टेटस पीछे का वो बताता है. जिस टाइप का प्रोटीन होगा वैसा ये ग्लूकोज लेवल को इंडिकेट करता है. द नॉर्मल लेवल or normal range for this fructosamine in animal is below 400 millimole per liter. If it is more than 400 millimole per liter, it's indicative of diabetes mellitus, and it reaches above the reference range within 3 to 7 days of occurrence of diabetes mellitus, and it reaches a steady state within 8 to 20 days of occurrence of hyperglycemia. But it will give clue for several things, as it will provide additional supportive evidences, and it will not affected by sudden change in the glucose level. जैसा कि हमने अभी भी बात किया था कि 3 से 7 दिन लगता है कम से कम इसको एलिवेट होने में अगर हाइपरग्लाइसीमिया है. लेकिन अगर आपका कॉर्टिसोल के चलते सडन चेंज के चलते हाइपरग्लाइसीमिया है, उस कंडीशन में you will not find elevated level of this fructosamine, and thus this will help in differentiate between the transient stress induced hyperglycemia and diabetes mellitus in cats. But at the same time, normal level doesn't rule out the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus in animals. अगर आपको नॉर्मल लेवल मिलता है इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उस एनिमल को डायबिटीज मेलिटस नहीं है. ये नॉर्मल लेवल अगर इनिशियल स्टेज ऑफ डायबिटीज मेलिटस होगा तो भी हो सकता है, जैसे कि हमने बताया कि 3 से 7 दिन लगते हैं लेवल को अबव द नॉर्मल रेंज में आने के लिए. उसी तरह से कुछ फैक्टर्स हैं, लाइक इट कैन बी इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय हाइपोअल्बुमिनलेमिया, यानी कि अल्बुमिन लेवल अगर लो होगा दैट विल बी, इफ इट इज़ बिलो 2.5 ग्राम पर डियर देन यू विल फाइंड लो लेवल ऑफ fructosamine. Similarly, if you will find hyperlipidemia, that is triglyceride level, if it is more than 150 milligram per dl, then it will be influence the level of fructosamine. Similarly, hyperthyroidism can also influence the level of fructosamine, because if animal is under hyperthyroidism, there will be elevated BMR or basal metabolic rate. At that time there will be increase in the plasma protein turnover, so the level of fructosamine or protein will be utilized fast at a faster rate, and so you will find a lower level of fructosamine. So these are the factors which can affect the status of fructosamine. So at the time of interpretation you should be cautious about these complications. Similarly, glycated hemoglobin is another diagnostic tool, or its estimation can help you to monitor the blood glucose level for a longer period, longer than even from the fructosamine. It is irreversible, non-enzymatic, insulin independent glucose binding to the hemoglobin, and it provides average glucose level for a duration of lifespan of RBC, and this lifespan of RBC is approximately 110 days in dogs. So if you want to estimate a glucose status of previous 110 days, you should go for this GlyHB estimation, and this glycated hemoglobin is directly proportional to the concentration of ग्लूकोज इन द ब्लड, यानी कि ब्लड में ग्लूकोज लेवल ज़्यादा होगा तो ग्लाइकेटेड हीमोग्लोबिन भी ज़्यादा होगा. एंड thus this can be used for monitoring a long term effect of treatment जब हम लोग ट्रीटमेंट में मॉनिटर करना चाहते हैं किस तरह से डाउन हुआ, किस तरह से ज़्यादा हुआ, तो एक मॉनिटरिंग डिवाइस के रूप में GlyHB को यूज किया जाता है और ये लगभग 3 से 4 महीने तक का स्टेटस आपको ग्लूकोज का बताता है, जबकि आपका जो फ्रुक्टोसामाइन है दैट विल प्रोवाइड ओनली 2 to 3 वीक्स स्टेटस ऑफ hyperglycemia. Other biochemical alterations like hyperglycemia and hypercholesterolemia, this is a typical finding of healthy diabetic dog. यानी कि डायबिटिक हेल्दी इसलिए हम कह रहे हैं क्योंकि उसमें सिस्टेमिक साइंस नहीं है, सिर्फ उसमें पॉलीयूरिया, पॉलीफेजिया और पॉलीडिप्सिया के ही लक्षण आपको दिख रहे हैं. दैट टाइप ऑफ डॉग इज कॉल्ड एज हेल्दी डायबिटिक डॉग. तो इस टाइप के डॉग में आपको हाइपरग्लाइसीमिया और कोलेस्ट्रॉल लेवल एलिवेटेड सिर्फ मिल सकता है. नॉर्मल हेल्दी डॉग्स जो होते हैं, डायबिटिक डॉग्स होते हैं, उनमें जो ALT बिकॉज ऑफ देयर विल बी हेपेटिक लिपिडोसिस, ALT और ALKP का जो लेवल होगा वो एलिवेटेड होगा, बट इट शुड बी बिलो 500 यूनिट पर लीटर. यानी कि 500 यूनिट से नॉर्मल हेल्दी डायबिटिक डॉग में कम ही रहेगा, ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. अगर ALKP लेवल इफ इट इज़ मोर देन 800 यूनिट पर लीटर, then you have to suspect about the concurrent hyperadenocorticism in dogs especially. जैसा कि हमने कसिंग सिंड्रोम में आपको डिस्कस किया था कि डॉग्स में जब ALKP ड्रामेटिकली एलिवेट होता है बट कैट्स में ऐसा नहीं होता है. तो अगर आपको 800 से ज़्यादा यूनिट मिल रहा है ALKP का, तो यू हैव टू सस्पेक्ट अबाउट द concurrent Cushing syndrome. If you are finding elevated level of ALT more than 600 unit, then you should suspect हेपेटोपैथी अदर देन हेपेटिक लिपिडोसिस. यानी कि हेपेटिक लिपिडोसिस के साथ साथ हेपेटिक इम्पेयरमेंट और भी रीजन से हो रहा है. नाउ 1 in creatinine concentration are usually normal, but if animal is suffering from primary renal failure or free renal uremia can be there because of secondary dehydration due to the diabetes mellitus. You will find glycosuria, ketonuria and proteinuria. These are the findings of diabetes mellitus. One more test can be added into the diagnostic basket of diabetes mellitus, that is the canine pancreatic specific lipase CPL, and this is a test for choice for identification of pancreatitis. Another test, that is serum trypsin like immunoreactivity TLI. This is not going to diagnose the pancreatitis, but it is the test of choice to diagnose the EPI, that is the exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. तो हम लोग डायबिटिस मेलिटस की बात कर रहे हैं, यानी कि इंडोक्राइन की बात कर रहे हैं. तो अगर आप पैंक्रियाटाइटिस करना चाहते हैं तो CPL को आप उसके डायग्नोस्टिक के साथ में कंबाइन कर सकते हैं. अगर आपके पास इफ़ यू आर हैविंग प्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ इंटैक्ट फीमेल बीच, in that situation whatever the cycling status of that animal is there, you should go for estimation of progesterone level. अगर प्रोजेस्टेरॉन लेवल आप एस्टिमेट करेंगे तो आपको सेकेंडरी डायबिटिस मेलिटस का आइडिया मिल सकता है. सो अगर इंटैक्ट फीमेल बीच है तो आपको प्रोजेस्टेरॉन लेवल भी साथ में एस्टिमेट करने की से मदद मिल सकती है. अनदर थिंग, इफ इट इज़ अवेलेबल अल्ट्रासोनोग्राफी, you should go with this abdominal ultrasonography, and this abdominal ultrasonography will help you to diagnose cystitis. It will help you to assess the size of adrenal gland, as it may be shrunken or increase if there is Cushing syndrome. We have discussed in detail. It will also help you to evaluate the status of liver, size of liver, hepatomegaly, and it will also help you to detect or estimate or assess the status of pancreas. So it will be helpful if you are going with this abdominal ultrasonography in diabetic patient.